Good morning and welcome to World News here on TVP World. I'm your host, Marie Kasia. Germany will return artifacts stolen from Poland during World War II when the country's leaders meet in Berlin on Monday. TVP World can reveal German officials have been quietly at work to identify pieces that remain in their hands but originate from Polish collections. As Sonia Gatabiszczan explains, a set of medieval Teutonic archives and a 14th century sculpture could reportedly be part of the deal.
In a historic event between Berlin and Warsaw, Germany will return valuable art stolen from Poland during World War II, TVP World has learned. Germany would return archives of the Teutonic order looted from Warsaw and a sculpture depicting a saint's head stolen from the Malbork Castle in northern Poland, according to the Onet news platform. The transfer is expected to take place on Monday, during a Polish-German intergovernmental meeting in Berlin with the participation of Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk and the German Chancellor. This is the first such meeting since Friedrich Merz took office. The talks raise hope among analysts.
Let's me hope here that this will be indeed a new phase in these relations is that we now have in Germany a government that looks in very similar ways on the world as the Polish government looks.
But 16% of Polish respondents in a recent poll believe that history remains the biggest issue in Polish-German relations, particularly World War II and the question of reparations. Poland was never compensated for the losses it suffered at the hands of the Germans during World War II. Supporters of the largest Polish opposition parties, Law and Justice and Confederation, are the keenest to seek redress, whereas Germany repeatedly argued that the issue has been legally closed, as under communism Poland was forced to renounce its claims by the Soviet Union.
Maybe there can be found a formula in which some of the issues that Poland still has concerning recent history can be addressed, but I'm afraid this is something that will probably continue to haunt a historical topic that will continue to haunt German-Polish relations.
Historic disputes aside, there is also a more recent point of contention between the two countries: Poland's refusal to extradite a Ukrainian national suspected of the attack on the Nord Stream gas pipeline linking Russia to Germany. In response, co-leader of Alternative for Germany, a party classified as extreme right by German intelligence, went as far as to say that Poland could become a threat to Germany.
Poland did not extradite a wanted criminal, a terrorist, to Germany. And how did the German government react? It did nothing. It said, okay, that can happen.
In the same interview, Tino Kruppala said that he doesn't see a threat to Germany from Russia and that the West shares responsibility for Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Analysts warned that AfD's attitude towards Poland could further cripple relations between the two countries.
If the AfD, which is the strongest party in Germany at the moment, is the biggest opposition party and the strongest party according to polls, will be using this anti-Polish card more and more in the political debates, it will even more limit the room of maneuver of the German government to do something positive towards Poland.
During the Monday meeting in Berlin, Tusk is expected to be accompanied by Foreign Affairs Minister Radosław Sikorski and several other ministers. Aside from German-Polish relations, the talks are expected to include security considerations. For TVP World, I'm Sonia Gatabiszczan.
European defense ministers are in Brussels for a Foreign Affairs Council meeting to discuss Ukraine's defense needs and, most importantly, how to finance them. Our EU correspondent Angela Skujins joins us following Chief EU diplomat Kaja Kallas's opening remarks. Good morning, Angela. What can we expect to emerge from today's meeting in light of Belgium's increased opposition to releasing Russia's frozen assets?
Good morning. So yes, we expect stern consternation from the Belgian Defence Minister, Theo Franken. He is here representing Belgium. We know that the Prime Minister, Bart de Wever, has held very firm against his objections regarding the €140 billion reparations loan pitch. This is an idea to fund Ukraine's military as well as financial needs over the next 2 years. We're talking about stepping up ammunitions as well as drone supply. However, EU ministers have made it quite clear that it is up to Ukraine to determine how the money is spent if it gets it, despite this big push from Brussels to mobilise this cash for Ukraine. It is not looking likely with Belgium holding firm. We also saw that Prime Minister last week issue a letter to European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen in which he highlighted that he believes this is a fundamentally wrong idea. Despite this, the EU's foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, said it was up for discussion on Monday.
Well, Belgium has legitimate concerns about the risks, but all the other member states have said that they are willing to share those risks. So we are discussing those things. As it was said, we are not going to leave the Council in December without the result for the financing of Ukraine.
The EU's top diplomat Kaja Kallas speaking there about the run-up to the Foreign Affairs Council meeting on Monday in Brussels, focusing on Ukraine's defence needs as well as how to finance them. There is good news, however. We are expecting the green light of 80 million euros expected to be delivered to Ukraine from the windfall profits of those frozen Russian state assets. Hopefully it can use that to drive back Russian aggression. That's all from Brussels. I'll send it back to you in Warsaw.
Angela Skuzins reporting live from Brussels. Thanks very much. President Donald Trump's special envoy for peace mission, Steve Witkoff, will travel to Moscow later on Monday to discuss U.S. proposals to end the war in Ukraine. Witkoff will share his Russian counterpart's updated documents, which reflect discussions held with representatives from Kyiv and European leaders. Witkoff was labelled a traitor last week in a U.S. bipartisan backlash and rebuked by the EU for the 28-point peace plan, which was seen as pro-Russian. Opponents said the proposals rewarded Russia as the aggressor by suggesting Ukraine hand over land to Russia, currently controlled by Kyiv. The plan has subsequently been revised. U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio and head of Ukraine's National Security and Defense Council, Rustem Umerov, met in Florida on Sunday to discuss peace in Ukraine. The two officials said their meeting was productive and focused not just on peace, but also an economically prosperous future for Ukraine.
Today was again a very productive and useful session where I think additional progress was made. And we continue to be realistic about how difficult this is, but optimistic, particularly given the fact that as we've made progress, I think there is a shared vision here that this is not just about ending the war, which is very important. It is about securing Ukraine's future, a future that we hope will be more prosperous than it's ever been.
Our objective is a prosperous, strong Ukraine. We were discussing about the future of Ukraine. We discussed all the important matters that are important for Ukraine, for Ukrainian people, and U.S. was super supportive. We already had a successful meeting in Geneva, and today we continued this success.
President Donald Trump said on Sunday that corruption in Ukraine was not facilitating end-of-war talks. The U.S. leader spoke after peace negotiations took place between U.S. and Ukrainian officials in Florida. Aboard Air Force One, Trump told reporters there is a good chance of reaching an agreement.
Well, they're going along, and they're going along well. We want to stop people from being killed. Doesn't have much to do with us, but I'd like to see if we could save a lot of souls. A lot of people are being killed. Last month, we had 27,000 people killed in that ridiculous war that should have never happened. It would have never happened if I were president.
Have you spoken with Rubio and Witkoff since
I have,
meeting?
yeah. I've spoken to them, and they're doing well. Ukraine's got some difficult little problems. They have some difficult problems, but I think Russia would like to see it end, and I know Ukraine would like to see it end.
You just said that Ukraine has a little bit of problems.
Well, we have a corruption situation going on, which is not helpful.
And is that impeding the peace talks?
I said it was going on for 3 years, right? Didn't I say it? For 3 years I said it, so I was way ahead of schedule. But I think that there's a good chance we can make a deal.
Professor of American Studies Scott Lucas spoke to TVP World about the Ukrainian delegation's meeting with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Florida. Lucas said that while the talks may eventually be productive, they are also hampered by the financial interests of the Trump family.
I think taking interest in both the American and the Ukrainian statements, both sides are referring to productive talks or constructive talks. So it was good that they are meeting in Florida. but at the same time, they are referring to complicated talks. Steve Witkoff, and indeed Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, they have no interest in leverage on Russia. They have no interest in extending the sanctions further. Instead, they are, and we know this now from detailed leaks, they're talking about striking lucrative economic deals with the Russians.
During a flight from Istanbul to Beirut, Pope Leo XIV commented on the war in Ukraine. He expressed hope that Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan, drawing on his relationships with Russia, the United States and Ukraine, can help forge a new path towards a ceasefire.
Unfortunately, we have not yet seen a solution, but today there are once again concrete proposals for peace, and we hope that Erdogan, through his relations with the presidents of Russia, Ukraine, and the United States, can help in this regard to promote dialogue, a ceasefire, and a way to resolve this conflict, this war in Ukraine.
Georgian authorities have used a World War I-era chemical weapon during anti-government protests to crack down on demonstrators. That's according to an investigation by the BBC. After clashes with riot police, many anti-government demonstrators who took to the streets of Georgia's capital Tbilisi last year to protest its government's suspension of the country's EU accession bid have complained of health complications such as shortness of breath, coughing and vomiting that lasted for weeks. Investigating the case, the BBC has spoken to doctors, chemical weapons experts and whistleblowers from the Georgian riot police, who have pointed to the use of a World War I toxic compound named camite. Georgian authorities have called the BBC findings absurd. They defended their police force, saying it had acted legally in response to the, quote, illegal actions of brutal criminals. Cities across Europe and the Baltic states are embracing the festive season with lights, music and celebrations. Ljubljana's streets glow with a striking light installation, while Helsinki's Senate Square draws crowds to its Christmas market and carousel. Communities across the region are joining together to welcome the holidays in style.
Christmas has arrived in major European cities. In Warsaw, a Christmas market has popped up in the city center.
It's the first time there's a market like this in Warsaw. Usually there were smaller ones, for example in the Old Town. I'm really impressed. I've been living in Warsaw for several years and my sister is visiting me here. And honestly, this is something that really gives a wow effect, especially the Ferris wheel.
Brussels has kicked off the holiday season with an impressive light display.
It's very impressive, like all the square with the lights and all the also the performance and all the people in here. It's like very Christmas ambience, I think.
And Slovenia's capital, Ljubljana, now offers visitors the chance to stroll through a specially designed Christmas market or even take a double-decker carousel ride.
If you live in Ljubljana, you have come to see the lights, and if you're in good company with friends, it's even better.
No matter where you are in Europe, a Christmas wonderland probably awaits just around the corner.
And that's all for World News. Thank you so much for joining us and stay tuned for more on TVP World. Goodbye.